All right, good morning. Welcome to River Hills Church. If you're visiting with us, it's great to have you here. For those of you who are online with us, we're doing something a little bit different today. Believe it or not, I'm going to do a shortened message, and there are people placing bets against me. But in any case, because we have something going on in the building that we're calling a Taste of River Hills, it's a ministry fair. It's like a job fair. But at the end of the message, we don't want you to just turn things off because we have a special message for you. It's about 5 minutes long, and it's introducing some opportunities that you can have to minister from where you are, wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you are in our greater Madison area or if you are clear across the state or the country or in a different country. It doesn't matter. We have one volunteer who works with us every single Sunday, and you'll hear about that individual in this special message. But that person's 125 miles away, but he's ministering to you every single Sunday. So we have some opportunities we'd love to share with you online. For the rest of us in the house, I just want to share a couple of announcements that are about what's happening here in the life of the church. And it's great to have you here with us if you're visiting. We are all about encouraging people in a growing relationship with God. And we understand God to be Jesus Christ, and we want to be totally upfront with that. And we want to help you take whatever that next step is for you. It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you've done, it doesn't matter what church you may have grown up in, or if you didn't ever grow up in a church. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist. If you are here, you're here searching, you're here looking for that touch, and we are here to encourage you along that way. And we will start with you wherever you're at right now. We believe God accepts you as you are, and so do we. So we are in this series entitled, What on Earth Am I Here For? And if you have not yet picked up a book, there are still a couple of them left. They are the old versions of that, and you'll find those back on the information counter as you're leaving on your right-hand side there. Please feel free to grab one. They are free to you, and we would love for you to have that. You know, there is perhaps no more important passage of Scripture, particularly in the last 1,000 years, than Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8, 9, and 10. These verses are responsible for us sitting here today. They were verses which were discovered by Martin Luther, who started the Protestant Reformation. They are responsible for reforming the Catholic Church itself. And they have been verses which prior to that really were forgotten. And I want to remind us of them. I'm not going to show on the side screens what these verses are, but I want to read these verses to you. The Apostle Paul says this, again, Ephesians chapter 2, beginning at verse 8 and going through verse 10. God saved you, He rescued you by His grace when you believed. We were singing about that this morning. The reckless love of God manifests itself in a God who shows us grace and doesn't require anything from us, but says, here you go. And just like any gift, a gift needs to be received. And so we call that belief or trust. God rescued you by His grace when you believed. And you can't take credit for this. It's a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward for the good things we've done, so none of us can boast about it. And then here's verse 10. And we are God's masterpiece. I love the way the New Living Translation puts it. We are God's masterpiece. Why don't you take a moment, tap the person who's next to you, and let them know you are God's masterpiece. Go ahead, do it right now. And if you haven't heard it yet, turn around and tap somebody, whatever it might be, and just let them know you are God's masterpiece. People need to hear this today. Paul says we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus. Now catch this. So we can do the good things He planned for us long ago. What's so important about this verse and why it has been overlooked, verse 10 is so often overlooked because people are afraid that we're going to get the wrong idea that somehow we're saved by the things that we do. Oh, I forgot to turn on the timer. I just bought myself 2 extra minutes. It's set for 23 minutes. There's a $20 bet. Actually, it went up. Everyone has their nose out of joint because I made it in the first service, and so now it's up to 50. The people are betting against me. Can you believe this? But the whole idea here is that we're not rescued. We don't rescue ourselves by the things that we do. But because God in His grace shows us this, He changes us when we trust in Him. And we realize that we're adopted into His family, and we start to live a new life, and we want to live a life which is for Him and for His purposes. That's why we're doing this series. And so we start to think, not how can I appease God? How can I make up for the broken and messed up person that I am and the broken, messed up stuff that I've done? That's not our thinking. It's God loves me so much, He rescued me from all the messes that I've created in my life. God, how can I return the favor? And when Martin Luther discovered that passage, it totally changed him. Well, it wasn't something that was new to Paul. It's something that we find throughout the Gospels. In every one of them, I want to read to you that passage in Mark where Jesus first started talking about this. And it's at the end of Mark chapter 10, and Jesus is hanging out with His immediate followers, what we call the disciples. And this is a totally twisted story. I mean, check this out. Then James and John, so one of the 12 disciples. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee. Now, these guys are also called elsewhere the sons of thunder. It gives you some idea of what their personality might have been like, right? These are bold, brash guys, the sons of thunder. Then James and John came to Jesus and asked, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask." Now, if they really knew who Jesus was, and it sounds like they do, but they haven't quite figured out what the relationship is between them. They're treating Jesus like He's the genie in the bottle, right? I mean, frankly, it's the way most of us at some point along the line have probably treated Jesus, right? I know I have. Jesus, I want you to do what I want you to do. And yet, Jesus says, "What do you want me to do for you?" I don't think He's like, "So yeah, what do you want me to do?" You know, he has that little bit of an edge in his response, a little bit of a quizzicalness, and what is it you think you want me to do here? And they respond, "Let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory." So these guys know who Jesus is. They know that He's going to be in paradise. He's going to be in glory with the Father. But then they ask something which is like mind-blowing. So let me just explain ancient culture real quickly. If you were to invite someone of great importance to your home for dinner, you as the owner would sit at the head of the table. That's your rightful place. But at the right hand of you would be this person. So if this person is head of state, they don't get to sit at the head of the table. You sit at the head of the table, but head of state sits at your right hand. And so here are James and John being oh so humble and saying, "Hey, give one of us the right hand, give the other the left hand." It's like, we're more important than anybody. Maybe even you, Jesus. So give us what we want. Jesus responds, "You don't know what you're asking. Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with?" He's speaking of the death that he was going to be looking at. We can, they answered. I mean, I think they were just pulling that one out of their butt, right? Oh, yeah, sure, we can. Whatever we're talking about, we can do that. If you can do it, we can do it too. And Jesus says to them, you will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I'm baptized with. But to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared. Now, some of you right now are sitting here thinking, oh yeah, that's me. I have to admit, there have been times in my life when I was younger, I thought, oh yeah, I wonder if that's me, you know. I know now for certain that it's not me, just so you know. Now, when the 10 heard about this, so the other disciples, when the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. I bet they did. And Jesus called them together. So he saw a staff problem happening, and he's like, time for a little staff meeting right now. Let's head back into the Oak Room, and let's meet. It's just going to be a few minutes, okay? And he says this, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles, rulers in the world, lord it over them. And this is the way of the world. And their high officials exercise authority over them. Verse 43, not so with you. Now, obviously that phrase, not so with you, is descriptive and it's not prescriptive. It is prescriptive. It's not descriptive because just now he's had these two think that it's all about them, right? And he's saying, wait, this is not to be the case with you. I'm giving you a new prescription for how you should live. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Here's the key verse in there. Mark 10, verse 45. Let's read this together. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. He did not come to be served, but to serve. And so Jesus here is turning the whole thing, the whole value of the world, the values of the world, on their head. Now let me lay this out in terms of what we've already looked at. In the purpose-driven life, we've seen that if we're going to find our purpose, it doesn't start with us. It starts with who? It starts with God. It's not about us. Only as a result of getting it right does it come to be about us. It's not about us. And so the first purpose that we saw flows out of the very love of God. When you discover the love like we were singing about and what we were just talking about, we become overwhelmed with a God who would do that for us. And what do you do with someone who loves you like that? You love them in return. And that loving in return is what is called worship. And so we were created to do that. That's what God longs for us to do, to be in a loving relationship with him, one that goes both the ways that we freely choose to enter into. And the moment we enter into that, we discover our second purpose, which is this, that we are adopted into his, do you remember? We're adopted into his family. And being adopted into his family gives us a whole new way to think about who we are and what we're called to do in our lives. And being adopted into his family, he encourages us to look at our brother and his son, none other than Jesus Christ, as our example for living, which brings us to purpose number 3, which is that he created us to conform our lives, to conform our character to the image of Christ. And when we do that, you see where this is going? Each one leads to the next one. When we do that, this is what the character of Jesus is. And so he says, live like this. Don't live like that. Don't live like the world. Live like this. Live like Jesus. I love it when the church gets this right. You've probably seen pictures like this. I don't know, maybe you've seen some of the pictures of just the devastating wildfires in Maui this past week. People don't know where it started, but there was a hurricane that was in the Pacific, and the winds were up to 60 miles an hour on Maui. Maybe it starts just like a lot of the California wildfires started with power lines sparking and falling. But those 60-mile-an-hour winds fanned through the entire west side of the island and just caused devastation. And this is what the church does. The church doesn't sit back and say, well, I'm just going to sit around and wait for someone to help me in my problem. The church jumps in there and says, let's get it done. Let's do what we need to do. And, this isn't just the church. We're all created in the image of God. And I love how disasters bring out the very best in people, because it's the image of God which starts to shine forth. And we know that it's not all people. I mean, I remember when we went to Sanibel Island this past year, and there were big warning signs to contractors as you cross the bridge, saying you better have a license to be doing what you're doing, and you better do it right, or we're going to come after you. Because there is that dark side. But this is the image of God at work. This is the Spirit of Christ at work. And we have an opportunity to team up, not necessarily by going to Maui, but to team up with the Pukalani Community Church. And I want you to listen just for a minute. Pastor Mark Goodmanson.
Aloha, my name is Pastor Mark Goodmanson. I'm the senior pastor at Pukalani Community Church of the Nazarene here on Maui. I'm sure all of you know everything that's happening on Maui, the wildfires, the destruction that's happened. The city of Lahaina is gone. The city of Kihei is damaged greatly. Kula has lost so many houses. All of the destruction is all around our little church and our little community. We have become the hub of resources for people that have no hope, that have nothing but the clothes on their back. Right now we have a busload of water. Our staff is driving into Lahaina. They're risking their life to take water to people that have nothing. Earlier today we sent a truckload of food to Lahaina. Same situation. People have nothing. And so we're doing all that we can to get the resources where they need to go to the people. We're asking for your prayers right now. We need your prayers. We thank you for your prayers. Devastation is so great. Thank you. God bless. Aloha. My name is Pastor Mark Goodman.
Pastor Mark asks for our prayers, but we can also help by giving our gifts. World Vision is partnering together with this small church, the Pukalani Community Church, and helping him find the supplies. They have shipments, containers going to him even now, and to this small church. And if this is something that you want to and you feel called to minister by gifting them $5 or $50 or $500, whatever you deem something that God might be calling you to do. You can give those gifts through us, and we will send them on. You can just designate your gift to River Hills Church as Maui Relief. And if you're giving online, just go ahead and click on the Missions tab for your giving. If you're at home and you're giving, you can just go up into the upper corner of our website or down below and click Give, and you can designate your gift to missions, and all gifts to missions over the next 2 weeks will be diverted to Maui Relief. But you see, this is what the church does when we serve as the servants that Jesus was. We love because he first loved us, and that love manifested itself in Jesus not coming to be served, but to serve. That's what you're here for. That's what I'm here for. Now, I realize that in a message like this, there is a great tendency, and I have a temptation to kind of manipulate people into volunteering. In fact, a dirty little secret in ministry is that there are all kinds of articles and even books written on how to get more volunteers. And one of the things we've been talking about as a staff at this church is we want to get rid of the volunteer word. Because God doesn't call us to be volunteers. Volunteers assumes that somehow we're sitting back a little bit like James and John and saying, I'll do what I want to do. You put me there, Jesus. Instead of acknowledging that God calls us to serve. And so what we're trying to do is turn the tables on volunteer language and talk about being servants. To serve within the kingdom, to serve in the world, to shine a different light. And so what I want to confess this morning is that there are a lot of times when I struggle with depression. You might not know this about me, but there are times when I go down a rabbit hole, and it's tough. And when you're feeling like that, you know what you want to do? You want to self-isolate. Because you know that nobody else is going to understand. And I realize that when I am with people, and when I'm doing the things that God has called me to do, that I don't go there. It's impossible for me to be doing what I'm doing right now and to feel depressed. Why? Because I'm doing what I'm called to do, but most importantly, I'm with you, and we're together. And I think about the epidemic of loneliness, which is in our country and in our world. And let me ask you, does this solve it? Does social media solve it? Or does it deepen it? You know, because it's social media which tends to isolate us more. And the thing that I realize is the great cure. See, I take my meds regularly. And in my case, my meds are you and serving. I need to get myself out. I joke that sometimes there are days when I'm, you know, my phone alarm goes off, and I just want to stay in bed. And Debbie plants her feet in the back of my back and shoves me out, and she says, "It's Sunday, you're the pastor, now get going." You know? But here's the thing, the great cure, the cure for the epidemic of loneliness, the cure for, let me call it situational depression. If you have clinical depression, I am not suggesting that medication is no good. Believe me, I know that it is. But generally, the great cure is working with other people to help other people. That changes the entire game. And I think that's because God created us this way. Just like God is created with this space that Chris likes to refer to, this space in his heart that only you can fill, so did he create us for service. Now, do you think that the enemy wants us to serve? Do you think that the enemy wants us to be with other people? The answer to both is no. And so, when the enemy gets his way in our life, the way to fight that the great cure is to go with service. If you're in the reading this week, you're going to discover your shape, or you're going to start to scratch at discovering your shape. And that's not necessarily something that you see when you look in the mirror. But we want to do, I'm not sure if it's going to be a teaching series or if we're going to do a class on this to help us discover our shape. Now, I've changed this a little bit from what Rick Warren talks about in his book, but this is what SHAPE stands for. It's an acronym, and it stands for Spiritual Gifts and Abilities, is the S. That is, that God has given us certain abilities. He actually gives us particular gifts when we come to say yes to following him. But he also gives us, or maybe your life circumstances have given you a heart or a passion for doing things. How many of you have a cause for which you are passionate? How many of you wish you had a cause for which you were passionate? You know, this is what this is about. And the third thing, now Rick Warren talks about this as being abilities. I put those up in the first, and this is so important that the A is availability. Because we all are in different seasons of our life. How many of you have felt that you don't have like another 10 minutes you can squeeze out of your life sometimes? You ever been there? Particularly those of you who are maybe parents of young people, right? I mean, you're going constantly. But if you have 10 minutes, you know what? You can serve by being a greeter here. We have a need for that. If you like meeting people and you have 10 minutes, we can employ you for 10 minutes before each service. Then you look at your personality. God has gifted us with certain personalities. And how this all works together helps us to discover that shape. And of course, we all have different experiences. Some of you have grown up in an abusive home. And because you grew up in that home, you don't think that you have much worth. And self-worth is a big deal in your life. But when you discover the love of God and you have that experience, you and you alone can teach others who have been in similar situations that they too are loved and valued by God and have a place in this world. You can do it like nobody else can, and that's part of your shape. It's a gift that he's given to you. People are nudging each other right now because I have 90 seconds left, and who's going to win this bet? But what we need to remind ourselves is that for even the Son of... Let's read this together. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And if God calls us to shape our lives to look more and more like Jesus in our character, then this is what is foundational. This one truth can change your life. Life is not about... You tried to steal my message in your comments today, Chris Sandler. Life's not about, and I'm glad you did, because imitation is the highest form of flattery. But life's not about consuming, and I got to admit, I ripped this off of Warren. So, life's not about consuming, but contributing. Life's about contributing and serving. God wants to improve your serve. So let's celebrate it. The cure for so many ills in our society is found in one simple word. And what is that? All right, so now, let's get a taste of River Hills. And I have 13 seconds left.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So, right now, the people within the church building are getting the chance to look at volunteer booths in our sanctuary and cafe and are learning some of the ways that they can serve at River Hills. But I'm here to talk about the ways that you can serve remotely. So, just a few weeks ago, we had a guest musician who asked to play with us because he heard our worship through our streaming platform and said it was one of the best audio mixes that he's heard for a streaming church service. I think this is a complete testament to a volunteer that we have 125 miles away, remoting in every Sunday and mixing our online audio for you to enjoy and worship. And although we would love to have you here physically so we can share in God's love face to face, we absolutely understand that we live in a time where physical distance doesn't necessarily cut us off from one another. I think God works in ways like never before, connecting us and creating a place where we all feel like we belong and can just be in community together. One of our goals this last year was to try and find out a way to bring our online parishioners together and to be more than just a one-way video church distribution location, or in other words, a place where you can replay a sermon online. But instead, we wanted to create a two-way, Christ-centered community to share with each other, help and uplift one another, to truly be the church. So whether you're tuning in from your living room, your favorite coffee shop, or halfway across the world, we launched our virtual sanctuary, live.riverhillschurch.org, which is designed to fit right into your life, your schedule, and your journey. So imagine a place where you can be a part of fellowship no matter where you are. That's exactly what our church live site offers. A virtual space where faith and communion unite seamlessly. People can attend church, connect with staff and volunteers, and take their next steps with Jesus all digitally. But we're not just about content. We're about connection, and that's where you come in. We're looking for individuals like you to become hosts on our online ministry team. If you're passionate about making connections, spreading positivity, and deepening your faith journey, this is your moment. You don't need any special qualifications. Just bring your authentic self. We will provide all the training and resources you need to succeed. This is your chance to shine, to make an impact, and to be a part of something bigger than yourself. I believe we're all called to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and this is a wonderful opportunity to help create those moments to connect people to Christ, to pray with them, to celebrate with them, to offer a hand when needed. We all have our own story, and God is calling us to be in relationship with Him. And some of us just need that empowerment to take the next step. So, if you're watching online, I encourage you to try our new platform, Sunday mornings. And again, that site is live.riverhillschurch.org. And join the community. Stop in, say hello, tell them Scott sent you. We live stream both services, 8 and 9:30 a.m. Central Time, so there are 2 opportunities for you to join us. And listen, if God has placed something on your heart, please reach out. You can email volunteer@riverhillschurch.org, or write something in the comments section and somebody will be with you shortly. Also, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments or even new ideas that we haven't thought of. We would love to hear from you. And always remember, smash like and subscribe. Okay, just kidding. That's for my kids. So, God bless you. Thanks for joining us this morning.